Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to make a lot of green onion kimchi, which is also referred to as kimchi in Korean. We have, I don't know how many bunches of green onions. I think it's safe to say it's a lot. Let's get the kimchi seasoning paste started by prepping the flour paste first. You may remember us making it before from the pogi kimchi video, and it's exactly the same thing. 1 tablespoon of sweet rice flour to 1 cup of water is the ratio for that thick, pasty consistency. 1 tablespoon to 1 cup, guys, so that's a lot of water. Don't worry, just eyeball a whole lot of water more than the powder and you can adjust it as it cooks down. Like here, Oppa finds the paste way too thick, so we're going to add more water and cook it down again. Try to dissolve the flour in cold water at the beginning. It's hard to get the lumps out once it heats up. Oppa has made this several times now, and he's found that if he just heats it up until he sees some globs of flour lumps floating around, then continue stirring it off the stove, it's enough to get it to thicken with the residual heat. Because the initial paste was too thick, Oppa made a more watery, liquidy second version, and now he's going to mix that all up and keep stirring to get it to the right consistency of not too thick and not too runny. This is a bit too thick and lumpy, so let's do some more troubleshooting. Boil some water in a kettle, and we're going to add more water a little bit at a time and continue with the stirring. Oppa says it should be the consistency of a nice, rich tomato sauce. Not the runny kind of tomato sauce, but the thick kind that clings to pasta really well. Come on, tell me you know what I'm trying to say here. And remember, it keeps thickening in hot water, so take that into consideration as well. Seriously, don't worry, it's not a science. The point is to make a paste for the seasonings to blend and stick to the green onions. That's the only point. It's also better to eyeball when cooking Korean food like this, in my humble opinion, because look at how much green onion we have here. This is an obscene amount. And what if you just want to make one bunch, like 5 pieces of green onion kimchi? Going by ratio of ingredients rather than a strict recipe gives you the freedom to make however much you want. If you just want to try a small batch of kimchi, start with 1 tablespoon of flour to 1 cup of water and work from there. Give all the onions a rinse. Usually kimchi is made whole and just cut before serving. Oppa thought that if we cut it in half now, it would be easier later when serving. Spoiler alert, it was still too long and I still had to cut it, so I think it's actually just better to leave them whole. Green onions are usually pretty clean. Most of the dirt hangs out in the roots, if at all. We bought some from a regular grocery store once, not a Korean grocery store last time, and I don't know how they're grown, but there was not even a speck of dirt on them. Anyway, go ahead and give them a nice cold bath. In case I forget to mention it later, kimchi has a sweet spot in terms of fermentation time. Regular Napa cabbage kimchi will ferment and get tastier and tastier, but other types of kimchi like radish or green onions like today are amazing, fermented for 2 to 4 days. But man, they don't age well. Let's make the kimchi seasoning paste. We start with fish sauce. So as you saw, we have very little fish sauce left, but the good news is if you ever run out, you can substitute salt. We had some salted shrimp kicking around, so we use that up as well. That one's pretty much optional.
Salty tiny shrimp.
You're using fish sauce for the delicious umami, yes, but honestly, you're using it for the salt content to keep the kimchi from going bad. I'm sorry to say I can't really help you describe how to make this other than to say you'll have to taste test it. Apparently, it should taste overly salty because as it ferments, the flavors mellow out to deliciousness, like magic. This is the heart and soul of kimchi, Korean red pepper powder or gochugaru. With this ingredient, Oppa is looking for the right color. Kimchi should be a punchy, vibrant red, like a bold red lipstick, or a shiny red sports car, or as near to that as you can get it. Kimchi uses an insane amount of gochugaru, so if you're wanting to DIY some kimchi, get the large bag. If you can afford it, get gochugaru made with Korean peppers grown and processed in Korea. You'll be able to recognize them easily by their price tag, which is 3, 4, sometimes 5 times the price of cheaper gochugaru. But technically any gochugaru will work. Just watch out for expiry or manufacture dates, and don't get the bags with the clear plastic windows. They use pieces of plastic that are tinted red, so the powder looks super red in the store. We got one of them and it was almost brown when we got it home, and it did not taste very good. Store it in the freezer if you don't use it often and you should be fine.
Red, like a tomato sauce.
Add some garlic. We love garlic. Use fresh garlic, please.
Oh my god.
You can prep it however you want. It's a free country. We like this little gizmo doodle because it keeps the hands relatively clean and allows you to release any pent-up frustrations. But an old school garlic press is good. Using a knife is fine. Whatever floats your boat. Just when you think we're almost done, let's get to the really brain-numbing, tedious portion of the process. Looking back, I think this was mostly unnecessary. I thought we should do it because we were gifting 2 containers to our parents and, you want to make an effort. Next time, I think we'll just chop off the tops and call it a day. But this is how we spent a precious weeknight after the kids had gone to bed. Trimming tattered ends from green onions. Hashtag married life, hashtag passive aggressive, LOL. So if you don't know, you should know, Korean food cooking either uses or can use or is garnished with green onions. So because we've been blessed with this overabundance of green onions, we'll just save some like this in a Ziploc bag and store it in the fridge or freezer and they're ready to go. While we were doing all that unnecessary extra work, the seasoning paste has already started fermenting. Ooh, look at the bubbles dancing! Okay guys, this is it. This is the main event. Get ready to get your hands dirty and stinky. Gloves are highly recommended. Those disposable plastic gloves work, but are not great for the environment. I've heard people keep some rubber dishwashing gloves and use them only for kimchi making, but you can just use your awesome 2 hands. Your hands will stink after and possibly be stained kinda orange, but totally doable. Oppa here is demonstrating how ineffective using a cooking utensil is when making kimchi. Yes, get right in there. You don't want any naked onions. All of them should be nicely coated with a generous layer of seasoning. Also, if you make too much, you can store leftover kimchi seasoning paste in the fridge or freezer. Some people pop some into stews or soups, or you can thaw it and use it for another kimchi making session, of course. When making a lot of kimchi, there are dedicated containers Koreans will buy that are the size of a baby bathtub or bigger, called tara. Then it's easy to dump it all in and mix. When you're working with mixing bowls and plastic containers, working in sections little by little is the key. Don't be stingy with the sauce, this is what you made it for. And be firm, but use a light touch because green onions are easily bruised. Just work it in there, don't go crushing the onions. This is one of Oppa's favorite kimchi. I think it's a close tie between this pagimchi and buchu kimchi, which is the one with chives. These kimchis really shine when paired with meats. Any kind of Korean barbecue will be elevated with this type of kimchi. You can eat it with whatever, but it's really, really amazing with grilled foods. Because we unnecessarily cut them in half, we're now making sure to put the root part, the white bulb part at the bottom, because the thinner green parts will probably ferment really quickly. and we want the root part to ripen well in plenty of sauce at the bottom. The first day or two after making them, you'll find the spice from the green onion itself to be super sharp. But after even a day later, you'll find a lot of liquid from the onions pooling at the bottom. Our sweet spot is the third day. It's still kind of crunchy, but the flavors have mellowed and sweetened a lot. I'd say from that point, you have about a week or less of optimum deliciousness. Then it kind of goes downhill from there. You'll see what I mean later. Oh, and these special kimchi containers, their marketing labels talk about breathable plastics or something about how it makes better kimchi, but honestly, we just bought them for the size. I'll leave all the product links in the description box below if you want to check them out. This is the next day. The color is nice and bright, and I just like burping them once a day because the gas does build up, especially when we ferment them out on the counter for the first 2 or 3 days. Burping is just a fun way of saying I open up the lids once a day. You can see already how much water has formed. This is why you want to make it extra salty because all that water from the green onions blends into the seasoning paste. This is day 3, and it's pretty much ready to eat. There is a lot of liquid. You want to give everyone a chance to get in that yummy kimchi juice. So if you're finding the top to look a little dry, just give it a toss and a turn. How you serve it is up to you. Although it might look beautiful laid out like a bouquet of flowers, it's more practical to cut it into bite-sized pieces. This being my least favorite part about serving kimchi, but cut this way ahead of time, it's easy and neat to eat. After you're done eating, store it in the fridge. Rinse out the dishes right away because they might stain. As I said, this pakimchi is ideal with grilled foods, but it goes with any meal. This day we're having some Korean birthday soup or seaweed soup. Some people might not like this, but it tastes good to me. Don't let people tell you how to eat. I said okay. So now that it's been 3 or 4 days and it tastes good, it's time to store it in the fridge. So I have no space for this gigantic kimchi container in my fridge. This is one of the reasons Koreans will usually have a separate kimchi fridge. So let's make a gross mess and transfer those over. Don't forget to drown it in that delicious kimchi juice. This is 2 weeks later, and what can I say? You grow tired of the same thing, even if it's your favorite thing. So we stopped eating this for a while, and we have now gone beyond the sweet spot of deliciousness. It is very watery, but not in a good way. Some people, just not us, do enjoy it and know how to cook it after it's ripened this much, but at this point, it's kind of relegated to the back of the fridge, poor thing. Okay guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.